Coming up today, we're planting the grow room. There's some techniques and tricks if you want to grow some of what you eat during the winter indoors. Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener is sponsored in part by, for all your non-GMO, organic, and heirloom vegetable, flowers, and herb seeds, visit dollarseed.com. Sioux Growing Supply, located in Wausau, Wisconsin, focusing on certified leaf compost, an excellent amendment for poor soil, retains moisture and adds nutrients, which equals less watering. Available in labor saver pre-filled trays and pots, bag and bulk. Visit SiouxCompost.com. Organic fertilizer for the health-conscious organic home gardener. Family owned and operated. Visit thewiveggardeners.com. Don't poison your soil with municipal water. Attach a body, mind, and soil hose filter. Free shipping exclusively through the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. Just click on the body, mind, and soil icon. Authentic Haven brand soil conditioner for the home gardener. Easy to brew. Visit Minerty.com. No measuring, no thinking. Stamp it, plant it, stop plotting, start planting. Gardenstamp.com. Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. I'm Joy Baird. We're in the grow room today where it's winter outside, but we're going to get some of the vegetables that we enjoy planted in our indoor grow system. Now, if you're setting up a grow system, you can make this very cheaply, or you can spend as much money as you choose to on it. There is some techniques and some tricks you want to follow so you can be more successful. One thing you want to keep in mind is if you do not have a large area, we consider this a very small area, you're not going to get 4 or 5 or 10 pounds of green beans, for example, out of your grow area. We're going to plant a variety of different things. We've got about 8 large containers here and 2 smaller ones, and a hydroponic system here that we're going to run Muputi off of and grow lettuce in. Also, you want to have a good light. This is a T5 light. It's got 8 bulbs in it. It's got 2 separate settings where 4 lights are on or all 8 lights are on, and it's run on a timer. Now, based on what you're growing, it will determine how long your light needs to be on for. We start ours leaving it on for 12 hours on, 12 hours off, and we adjust it according to the growing that the plants that we've got going. One other thing here, these are black Creme tomatoes. These are the ones we harvested 2 months ago out in the garden before things got very cold. We've put them in a mason jar. We're only going to take one of them, and you can see how the roots have grown out of the stems. So we'll be planting one of those in our grow bags here. Now, black Creme is not a midget tomato. It's, a regular indeterminate tomato, and we are going to dramatically keep it pruned down, but hopefully by doing that we still will get tomatoes off of them. We had a red cherry and a black Creme last year in this same area, and we did get tomatoes off of them, though the tomatoes were a little tougher skinned because of the light penetration. It's not as bright as the sun. So we've got going to do a variety of different plantings here, and it's really as simple as it is as you would grow in a container outdoors. Our medium is a Coco Coir. Now, this is the Coco Coir, the husk that they grind up in the process of harvesting coconuts. We put them in containers, and if you're going to do a grow application much like ours, you will want to put paper towels in the holes here, because if these do begin to dry out, a lot of the coco coir, cocoa fiber, wants to fall out of the holes. So by putting the paper towels, that's just adding another barrier of keeping the cocoa fiber in the container instead of on the ground here. Now, this cocoa fiber came loose most times, or in some instances you will have to buy it in a block, use hot water and break it up in a bucket and use it that way. Another thing that we have come to learn is we've got an old tablecloth here that we've flipped over and double layered, much like a tarp. to put on the bottom, so if any liquid that does, if we overwater, it will retain on top of the table cover and not on the carpet. So keep that in mind if you're working in an area that you don't want to ruin the carpet, because there will be overwatering happening, and that water's got to go somewhere, and it just pulls up on the table cover and it doesn't ruin the carpet. Again, we're growing Coco Coir. This is the most recommended medium to grow in, rather than bringing soil in or using compost in the house, for a number of different reasons we won't get in today. So we're going to grow a vast variety of different things here. We're going to lettuce, spinach, potatoes, yes, potatoes, kale, kohlrabi, carrots, tomatoes, and some golden wax green beans. So it's really easy. We'll just start with the kale here. Now, one thing you do want to keep in mind here is we got a lot of different things going on here, and you can just write this down on a piece of paper what you've got planted. Now, we were given these markers. We did not spend money on these fancy little markers, but we will use them in our indoor growing applications, because we know that they won't weather too bad indoors, and we can mark what we've got planted. Now, kale is a very good green, and we are just going to put 3 plants in here, just like you would outdoors. We hydrated the cocoa fiber to a very moist consistency, not a sponge consistency, but a consistency to where it would absorb the nutrients. Now, the nutrients in a hydroponic system or a cocoa growing system can be inorganic. Now, there are a number of different products that can be used that have grow mediums. It has nitrogen, bloom, calcium, magnesium, all that different things. But what we're going to do this year is grow everything using a nutrient-based from Moo-Poo tea. We're brewing 4.5 gallons of Moo-Poo tea here with tea bags, because it's all organic, all natural, from cattle that are raised from antibacterial and hormone-free and growth inhibitors, all that stuff. The cattle are as organic as nature intended to, and they're fed a non-GMO diet of grasses as well. So we're going to grow the whole thing in using Moo-Poo tea as well as the hydroponic system. So I'm just going to get planted with the kale here, very simple, just like we do outside, and then I'll move throughout the other plants here, and it's very simple to go ahead and plant. Now, when planting root vegetables like we are here with carrots, you want to kind of keep in mind that, again, you're in a container, you're not in the ground, so you want to plant as many as you can, because you want to get as many as you can, but you don't want to overcrowd them like we did with our self-watering container in a few episodes back. We were able to plant them in a container, but we want to space them, and I'm just going to space them like this. You don't want to go too deep, but I'm going about every 2 inches here on center, and we'll get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, about 12 carrots in here, and that'll be sufficient. And we're going to keep it hydrated and moist, the Coco Coir, so it should be just fine. Now, whenever we're doing something like this, I'm going to put 2 seeds in each little hole that I've created, just for the chance that one doesn't germinate. I can afford sacrificing an extra carrot, just to make sure that we do have a full container of carrots. We're planting some Russian banana fingerling potatoes that we got from Wood Prairie Farms. These are the ones that we harvested from our garden this past summer. We've kept them in the cupboard, and they begin to sprout, so we're going to plant them. We're going to do 4, and that may seem excessive for the container that we're planting in, but it's just like we would outside. I'm going to go about 5 inches deep, put the potato. They are sprouting eyes, so we're already ready to go on that. And we're going to see how many of potatoes we can get growing in Coco Coir. And you really don't need to dig the hole. You can just press them down in there. Okay, so we're going to take the black Creme, and we're actually going to plant both of them. We figure we got a self-pruning grow bag here. We're just going to put both of them in there, and what's it going to hurt? Now, also, we're growing in cocoa medium, the Coco Coir here. When planting tomatoes, just like outside, you want to bury it deep and get all the roots in there. We're choosing to grow in the Coco Coir because it can be reused over and over and over again. Soil could be used as well, but you've got to revitalize the soil by adding more compost to it. Also, bringing in a lot of compost can introduce a lot of fungal gnats. That's just a normal insect that's in soil. So by doing that, you can incorporate a lot of them into your grow room. You can also use these sticky pads here. You can see we've got a number of gnats already on there from previous projects. Now, if you do want to just do the whole growing in soil indoors, like we have with our herbs in the kitchen window, they do make a material. It's what it is essentially. It's ground up glass to where you can put on top of your soil to where the fungal gnats won't be able to get to the soil. So you'll have like a 1/2 inch of this ground glass material on top of your soil. So that's another way you can go if you don't want to do the investment of getting Coco Coir as a growing medium. So now I've got them all planted. I'm just going to take the Moo-Poo-Tea, and one thing you want to keep in mind is it may look dry on the top, but because of these lights, that's the reason why. The Coco Coir on the top, like 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, dries out very, very quickly. But you want to, get your fingers down in there on the ones that you know that you're not going to disturb a lot of seeds, and just see if it really is dry. And based on how much heat is in the room, how bright and how hot your lights are, will greatly determine how frequently you apply nutrients. Now, if you do apply nutrients in the traditional form, such as nutrients like this, there's a weekly applicational rate that you want to follow. We're going outside the box and strictly using Moo-Poo-Tea on all of this in a weekly form as well, in addition to growing it and using it in our hydroponic system. Now, we have this light set up hanging from our ceiling. You want to have the light as close to the seeds as possible. I know sometimes you can't get it buried right on top of it, but this is also something you want to keep in mind when you're starting seeds in the spring to transplant them outdoors, so they don't get leggy on you because they'll reach for the light. So now I'm just going to go through here with a cup and just top water all of the plants, just because I want to make sure everything's hydrated. We've hydrated the soil with well water. We use well water, that's what we have. Now, if you're using municipal water, you'll either want to run it through a filter to try to get rid of the chlorine in it, or you want to set it in a bucket for 24 hours to let that evaporate out, because that's not good for plants, or based on who you speak to, about for humans either. So I'm going to get all this watered in, then we'll get the hydroponic system set up for lettuce. Now we're going to get our hydroponic system set up. Now this is just a single 1 bucket, 2.5 gallon bucket with clay balls and air stones. Hydroponics works on the method of it produces water dripping through the clay balls. The balls hold a little moisture. You plant your seed. We planted just directly into this with like a green bean before last year, and it worked very well. You can also bring transplants in. It is recommended that you start in a material called rock wool. It's basically cotton candy rock. They've taken a rock and heated it up to a molten state and then spun it into like a cotton ball form. It's very loose, and then people grow and then incorporate that and plant that right into their clay balls. Well, we don't have rock wool. We are just going to take our seedlings, our lettuce seedlings, we'll put about 3 or 4 here, and we're going to turn it on and fill it with Moo-Poo-Tea. We're actually going to throw some lettuce seeds in there and just see what happens. Now, the premise is that air gets forced through this air pump, goes in the bottom, and forces air down the bottom, and the water is forced up, and it drips through here, and it hydrates the seeds or the plants that way. Aquaponics, on the other hand, is where you have a reservoir where fish is located, and the fish water is pumped through a growing area, and the plants absorb up the water, the minerals in the water, as well as the byproducts of the fish. So keep that in mind so you don't get the two confused. Hydroponics, water; aquaponics, aqua meaning fish, is the way I remember it. So first we're just going to take our Moo-Poo-Tea here. Now, using Moo-Poo-Tea, wonderful way. It's an organic way, it's a healthy way of going about this. If you want to know more about the different ways to do it and the effectiveness, cost effectiveness of doing this, there'll be a link in the show notes below of an article that was written strictly for using Moo tea in a hydroponic system. So this will hold approximately 2.5 gallons. On this system here, I've got a reservoir marker. The white line, when I get to the white line, I will stop filling it up. Now, this Moo tea, every 10 to 15 days, we will refill, we'll empty out the old Moo tea and refill the reservoir with new Moo tea that we get in these little tea bags. So let's go ahead and see. Water's right there right now. We've got a little bit more ways to go. And we're at the white line there. I'm just going to add a little bit more. Now it doesn't smell, it doesn't have like a manure tea that you would assume that you reflect on being like from a cattle lot. It's very, there's really no smell to it at all. So it's not stinking up the whole house. So now that we've got that filled, you'll want to check this about every, let's see, where am I? Oh, I'm right. I'm a little bit higher, but that's fine. You want to check this every 3 or 4 days because due to evaporation, you may need to add some liquid to this, and you can either have more Moo tea brewing, 1 to 3 gallons, or 1 to 5 gallons for 1 to 3 days, or you can just top it off a little bit with some tap water or well water, or if you have municipal water, you can let it set for for 24 hours and just add it topped off, because if it gets too low, it won't pump the water up and then your plants become dehydrated and dying. You don't want that. So since we don't have the rock wool, we're just going to take, let's see here, these are some lettuce seeds that we saved from this year. There's about 65,000 seeds there. We're going to take and sprinkle a few of them in our hydroponic system, as well as we're just going to take, and we're going to take about, we'll take this one here. We've let the soil dry out a little bit. Now we started these about a week ago because we knew the lettuce, we wanted to have the best chance of having lettuce in the hydroponic system by seeds or by little starts here. So all we're really going to do here is we're going to make a little indentation where I think would be best. Now there's holes here, 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. So you can plant them around the holes, and I think that's going to be the best thing for me to do here. There's one there, one there, one there, one there. And we'll put one in the center. So we will go ahead and knock as much soil off of these as possible, because they're going to be pulling the nutrients out of the Moo tea. So we're just going to do what we can to bury it in the rocks. Now we know that there's going to be some casualties here. We know that because we're doing it unconventionally, which is kind of like we like to do a lot of things, and we find sometimes the unconventional way works better than the conventional way. So we'll do what we can. Now the advantage to using the rock wool, if you do want to buy that, is you can just set the whole thing in there. You're not fighting with the clay pebbles or the clay balls here like I am. All right, so we've got it on here, and we've got the air pumping into the reservoir, and the reservoir forcing the Moo tea up, and it's dripping. You can see it's dripping there, and it's adding, and the bubbles are there because of the way the Moo tea is. Normal water wouldn't cause that, and that's perfectly fine. That's good that we had that air, the bubbles coming up. Now, what I'm going to do in addition to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the center here, I've put 2 more there because the moisture will begin to absorb into the clay balls, and then they will hopefully take off as well. I don't have a problem with this in 40 to 60 days just to be a giant globe of greenness. Now, as these mature, we're going to harvest them as we see fit, and we do have some additional ones left here. Now, what I'm going to do with these here is thin them out and bring probably 1 or 2 over here, and then just let the rest of them go. That one's the one I hacked off. Let the rest of them go, because in the instance that one of these or several of these, for whatever reason, don't make it, I can just harvest these, put them in the hydroponic system, and we've got everything at the same growth period. Now with the seeds here, I've got a mixture of several different seeds, and I'm just going to be very, very generous and just drop these in. Now, you won't see other hydroponic growers do this, but we don't follow the rules when it comes to hydroponic growing. So growing indoors, it can be a very enjoyable, rewarding, therapeutical activity during the very long cold months, as most of us experience in the northern portions of the United States and North America. It may not be enough for what we can afford to sustain ourselves, but it is a way to know how we can do it if that situation comes to where we need to grow in a reliable source so we can sustain ourselves through the preserving food that we have and the fresh produce that we can grow indoors, whether hydroponically, Coco Coir, in the soil, under grow lights, or aquaponically. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next time for more organic gardening and preserving. I'm Joey Barrett, and this has been the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.